Welcome back, ladies and gents, to the Players Zone YouTube channel and another video because the Premier League has given us another massive game overnight. Aston Villa 1, Man City 0. That's the scoreline. Man City drop another game in the Premier League, and I literally made a video yesterday saying that Arsenal might be title favourites. Well, right now they actually are, because Man City now haven't won a game in 4 games. Their form seems to be not great, and Aston Villa absolutely deserved that win last night, played some great football, and it continues to be the theme of this season. Such an open title race, such an open sort of top 5, top 6, and the fact that on any given night anyone can beat any side, and it's delivered us one of the sort of better Premier League seasons we've had now in a few years. And it's just exciting to see that as we come into this busy December period, there is multiple teams that can go in the league. There's multiple teams with different strengths and teams that can beat any team on any given night. I think that's the biggest thing. In terms of the game now, Man City, as I said, haven't won in 4 games in a row, 3 draws, and then the loss last night. They now fall to 4th below Aston Villa and 6 points now, 2 games behind Arsenal on the top of the Premier League. So not what we expect from City. We normally know they have a bad start of the season, but not this bad. This is not crisis as of yet, but nervous times for City. They've got a lot of ground to make up, and especially considering Arsenal, the sort of 6-point swing and the fact that they were losing last night with the night previous with 25, 30 minutes to go and end up winning that in the last minute, whereas Man City couldn't get over the line versus Aston Villa. It feels a bit like a 6-point swing, and it's just for momentum and for the mentality shift. It's all the confidence, all the momentum now with Arsenal in that sort of title race. But in terms of Aston Villa now, this is their 14th game at home in which they've won. They've beaten Manchester City, the first time they've done that in around 10 years. Unai Emery gets his first win versus Pep Guardiola. It was a massive night for them, and I think, as many people have rightly said, they undoubtedly deserved to win that game. They played the better football. They were the better side for minute 1 to minute 90. And you could tell from the start they were up for it. High pressing, chances early, peppering the goal of Edison. Lucas Digne having an early shot within 3 or 4 minutes. Bailey testing Edison's gloves twice in the opening, so 10 to 15 minutes as well. So they were at the races from the start. That Villa Park crowd as well gets behind their team, and it was a really, really bouncing sort of environment. They were up for it. The team was up for it, and Man City just weren't quite at the races. They wasn't quite the City we're used to, and once again, they're without Rodri and another loss. There's a clear link there with a lack of, accountability or quality in that midfield, and it shows in this game. I saw coming into it, I looked at the lineup and I thought, very interesting one with Rico Lewis, John Stones potentially playing in midfield. He ended up playing there for the first 35 to 40 minutes before he was put in the defence. But really interesting sort of defensive lineup, and it had sort of hallmarks of that Arsenal game, and the fact that in that game as well they were very defensive and they didn't quite to give Arsenal any sort of threat. They didn't really go at them. For Man City, only 2 shots in this game and 2 on target, and they both came within 20 seconds of each other. As Haaland's shot was smartly saved by Edison, and then his header followed up was also smartly saved by Martinez as well. So back-to-back Martinez saves, quality saves of that from Haaland's shots. And they were the only 2 shots they had, and only 2 shots on target they had for the whole game. And that came there in the first half, and that was in the 11th minute. So from there on in, Aston Villa basically destroyed and controlled the game. As I mentioned earlier, Leon Bailey was the standout in this one. And for me, Villa utilised their width and their pace very, very well in this game. Man City's fullbacks, they're not bad at all, but they exploited them in this game. Vardiol was stretched at times, especially for the goal. Kyle Walker was put to the test, and when you've got the fullbacks with a license like Lucas Digne does to overlap and get forward, Enzri Konsa not really playing as that overlapping bombing fullback, but was someone who had the ball at his feet and was able to play these diagonal passes and get on the ball and progress the game. Man City really struggled. I think we've seen a theme across his last sort of few games is when teams don't give Man City all the respect, when they actually go at them and play football against them and be on the front foot, press them high up the pitch, we see that Man City sort of struggle to deal with this. And once again, in this game, Aston Villa, that midfield quad in this game with Tielemans, Kamara in there, Douglas Luiz, as well as John McGinn, they were working like in there. They were snappy. They pressed hard up the pitch. And when you press these, defensive midfielders and defenders of Manchester City, especially when Rodri's not there, they seem to just sort of get nervous on the ball and make mistakes. And we saw against Liverpool, when Liverpool played their best versus Man City in periods of time in that game, it's when they pressed high up the pitch, it's when they put pressure on Man City, and in possession, without Rodri there, they look a bit shaky on the ball. So going forward, it's a clear sort of strategy to go against Manchester City is to be aggressive. Don't give him all the respect. Obviously respect him to a degree and sit in for periods of time and absorb some pressure, but Man City will eventually break you down. You've got to get at them. You've got to get it, press at them. When you're attacking, go use the flanks. Try and beat these fullbacks that might try and get high and center up the pitch and exploit them that way. And Leon Bailey was probably the best on the park. He ended up scoring the goal in the 74th minute. A little flick on from Yuri Tillemans, but he takes the ball and drives a good 10 to 15 yards, skips past Guardiola, and the shot obviously deflects off Ruben Diaz and ends in the back of the net. But you've got to say they deserved it. They had the 22 shots in the game, 7 on target to City's 2 shots and 2 on target. Possession game was pretty even. Both teams had around 600 odd passes as well. So, Aston Villa were not outplayed or were not, lucky in this game. They thoroughly deserved it. And early on in the game, as I said, they were peppering the City goal. Edison with some massive saves, some, shots flying past the post. And late in the game, Douglas Luiz hits the upright in the 85th minute as well. So Aston Villa from start to finish was the better side. Unai Emery just out-coached Pep Guardiola in this game. They came with a game plan to take it to City, to put City in the back foot. And I think we're seeing now Man City struggle, being on the back foot. They couldn't get out of their own half in the second half. It felt like Aston Villa, with their high press and with the continuous chance creation, City were just wilting under the pressure, and eventually, obviously, the goal goes in. I touched on the midfield domination, but it didn't highlight once again, that I don't know where the mentality was coming from with Pep playing Rico Lewis and playing John Stones in midfield. I like John Stones in there, but you got to have someone a bit more creative or a bit more front foot. I know Rico Lewis has that in his game, but playing him at centre mid, there's two sort of natural fullback, natural defenders and a fullback and a centre back playing in there. You don't quite get that attacking flow that they were looking for, and that's why I think the chance creation was so limited. Obviously, fair play to Aston Villa as well for the way they countered Manchester City, where they crowded them out in midfield, outworked them, overloaded in areas and exploited Man City's sort of weaknesses in defence. They did that very, very well. But as I said, similar to the Arsenal game, they played a lot of defenders in this game, and it stood out because it's a similar thing to the Arsenal game. They didn't create enough chances. It's simple enough. And against Villa, they're a team you can get at as well. Fullbacks get high and wide up the pitch. Wingers stay high and wide. There's spaces to exploit. I think they didn't win the midfield battle, and like we say a lot in the Premier League, if you don't win the midfield battle, you don't win games of football. So worrying signs for Villa. What was worrying signs for City in the fact that now they've gone this sort of continued streak of not positive results, 3 draws, drawing 3-3 to Tottenham, conceding 3 to an injury-riddled Tottenham side. The 1-0 loss here at Villa Park. And you look at early in the season, Wolves beating them as well. When teams can get at this City team, they wilter. It's pretty simple, and it's simple in that fact. And when Liverpool played their best, they got at them as well. So right now, City aren't looking that formidable unit that we've seen across the last few years. And as such, you'd think Arsenal right now the title favourites. I put even Liverpool up there now, equal with Man City in the fact that they both have some clear flaws. But I think Liverpool's clinicalness in front of goal and ability to put teams to the sword might put them on an equal level right now with Manchester City. And then to Aston Villa, all props to them. Now currently sitting 3rd in the Premier League. Not too far off the top either. They're playing some great football. They've got some great players in this team. I've already touched the midfield, but even the defence, Pau Torres at the back there was remarkable. He's been great all season. Diego Carlos did well coming in now in that centre-back position. Enzri Konza filling in at right back for a bit more defensive solidity. And Luca Digne had one of his better games as well from left back. I think that left-hand side with Bailey and Luca Digne were just massive with the overload, exploring that side of the City defence and putting great balls into the box. Ollie Watkins didn't have a great game in this game either, and they still managed to score the goal. So they're not just relying on one guy. When you have Zaniolo and you have Diaby on the bench, and you've got all these options to bring on to score your goals, even Jacob Ramsey coming off the bench as well, quality players. It's a sign that Aston Villa, are not warranted being there. They absolutely warrant being in this position in the Premier League. And I'm excited to see how they can go on with this, because Villa Park is a fortress. They're taking this aggressive Unai Emery front-footed style of football to all the places they travel to everywhere they play their football. They're through in the European group, top of their group. Amongst the title favourites right now in the Premier League. You might not have them as a title favourite, but on points and in the ladder, they're right there. And with the way they're playing the football, they can match it to anyone. So, they're not too far off it right now. You've got to give them props. And right now, you've got to chuck them in that group, with these top 4 teams right now as, ability to win the Premier League title. It's not ridiculous. We see Leicester do it a few years ago, and it's not as far-fetched as that team was there. They've got some really quality players, and if they stay fit for the most part, this squad is deep enough. This squad is good enough to take it to any team on any night. And once again, the Premier League keeps tossing up new permutations, continues to make us second guess ourselves and on our toes here, because what a game we saw. And now, as I sort of summarised from this video, the thing we get out of it is Man City are looking vulnerable. Arsenal are probably the title favourites right now as we currently sit at this point in time, and Aston Villa have to be considered one of those teams fighting for the title as well, because the way they just broke apart Man City last night, probably deserve to win 2 or 3-0. Goes to show that they are up to it. They are at that level, and Unai Emery right now, it's probably a separate video in itself, but he has to be respected and accepted as one of the top coaches in the Premier League. Didn't quite work at Arsenal, but in this new system, these new players, he's making it work with Aston Villa, and this could be a start of a bit of a dynasty there. No matter how they do this season, I think they'll win the Conference League. They might go far in the Premier League, bit of a top 3, top 4 situation. You never know in cup competitions as well. It could be a very successful year, and potentially European Champions League qualification through the league, and then also winning a Conference League. This could be Manager of the Year type numbers from Unai Emery. So a great start of the season for Aston Villa. I just had to touch on this game because it is reshaped, and the outlook of the Premier League has taken another turn once again. So a massive result for Aston Villa. Very, very big for Arsenal. In fact, they now get further away from Man City, and worrying signs for City. They are vulnerable right now. Pep has to change some things, and once again they lose without Rodri in that team. Nervous signs for City fans. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more football podcasts and other sporting based content. And with that all being said, guys, I'll see you guys in another video very, very soon. Till then, guys, see you later.